In 1976, a Chilean farmer digging a drainage channel in the Atacama region uncovered some unusual bones. When archaeologists arrived and began excavating the site, a waterlogged peat bog called Monte Verde, they found something that challenged the most fundamental assumption in American archaeology: stone tools, animal bones that had been cut and processed, the remains of wooden structures, plant material that had been gathered and used. And beneath it all, a single human footprint pressed into the ancient clay. The site was dated. The results came back as 14,500 years ago. The problem was significant. The accepted model at the time, the Clovis First hypothesis, held that humans had entered the Americas no earlier than 13,000 years ago, crossing the Bering Land Bridge during a brief window when an ice-free corridor opened through the glaciers covering Canada. Monte Verde was 1,500 years too old. It was in South America, at the far end of the continent from the Bering Land Bridge, which would have required another 1,000 years of southward migration on top of the arrival date. The mathematics did not work. The Clovis First model could not accommodate Monte Verde. The archaeological establishment resisted the site for nearly 2 decades. The resistance was not simply scientific caution. The Clovis First model had become something closer to orthodoxy, a framework that had organized decades of research funding, museum displays, and educational curricula. Challenging it required not just new evidence, but a willingness to dismantle an infrastructure of interpretation that had been built around a single assumption. When the Monte Verde authentication finally came, it did not simply update the timeline. It revealed that the foundation the timeline had been built on was wrong. When a team of prominent archaeologists finally visited in 1997 and certified its authenticity, the Clovis First model officially collapsed. But the question it left behind was larger than the one it had answered. If people were in southern Chile 14,500 years ago, when did they actually arrive in the Americas? How did they get there? And who were they? Ancient DNA has been working on those questions ever since, and the answers are stranger and more complicated than anyone predicted. The Clovis First collapse opened a space that ancient DNA has been filling ever since, not with a simpler story, but with a considerably more complicated one. Every major genomic study of early American populations has added new populations, new roots, and new questions to a picture that was supposed to have been resolved decades ago. The first major finding came from a site in Alaska called Upward Sun River, where archaeologists excavated the remains of 2 infants buried together approximately 11,500 years ago. The ancient DNA extracted from the older infant, a girl researchers named Jashiti Arneng Teida Gai, or Sunrise Girl Child, revealed something unexpected. She belonged to a previously unknown population that had no direct descendants among any living Native American group. Researchers named this population the ancient Beringians. The ancient Beringians appear to have been an early founding group that entered the Americas from Northeast Asia, but then did not spread further south into the continent. They remained in Beringia, the landmass connecting Asia and North America that is now submerged beneath the Bering Strait, while a second group split off and began the southward migration that would eventually populate the rest of the Americas. The ancient Beringians and the ancestors of all other Native Americans shared a common ancestor somewhere in Northeast Asia, but they had been genetically separated for at least 5,000 years before either group entered the continent. This finding resolved one of the persistent puzzles of the Clovis First debate. If there was only one founding population and it crossed the land bridge 13,000 years ago, how did people reach Monte Verde in southern Chile 14,500 years ago? The ancient Beringian discovery suggested the population that eventually spread through the Americas had been living on the edge of the continent, in Beringia itself, for thousands of years before the southward migration began. The date at Monte Verde, 14,500 years ago, was not impossible. It was simply the record of people who had been in the region long enough to move farther south than previously assumed. The second finding came from a cave in Idaho called Cooper's Ferry, where stone tools and animal bones dated to approximately 16,000 years ago were recovered from sediment layers that predated the opening of the ice-free corridor through Canada. At 16,000 years ago, the interior route through Canada was still blocked by glacial ice. The people who made those tools in Idaho could not have come through the corridor. They had to have arrived by a different route. The ancient DNA from Cooper's Ferry and contemporary Pacific coast sites confirmed what the geography had always implied. The earliest Americans did not all come through an interior corridor. A significant population arrived by boat, moving southward along the Pacific coastline, the Kelp Highway, from Northeast Asia. The coastal route was not an alternative hypothesis. It was the primary route for the earliest arrivals. The ice-free corridor that the Clovis model had always depended on opened too late to explain the oldest sites. The people who were already there when the corridor opened had arrived by sea. The third finding concerned the genetic diversity of the founding population itself. Analysis of ancient DNA from the oldest recoverable American sites, combined with genomic data from living Native American populations, revealed that the founding population of the Americas was smaller and more homogeneous than the modern diversity of Native American groups would suggest. The extraordinary cultural and linguistic diversity of the Americas, hundreds of distinct languages, dozens of distinct cultural traditions, emerged from a founding population that may have numbered only in the thousands. A genetic bottleneck of extraordinary severity, followed by explosive diversification as small groups separated, adapted to radically different environments, and accumulated genetic differences over thousands of years of isolation. The fourth finding was the one that nobody had anticipated. Genetic analysis of certain Amazonian populations, specifically the Surui and Caritiana peoples of Brazil, revealed a signal that pointed not toward Northeast Asia, but toward populations in Australia, the Andaman Islands, and Melanesia. Researchers named the source population Population Y, or Ipicuera, in the Tupi language, meaning ancestor. Population Y appears to have contributed genetic material to the ancestors of certain Amazonian groups at some point in the deep past, possibly during the initial peopling of the Americas, possibly during a later contact event, through a mechanism that the DNA cannot yet fully explain. Population Y has no identified archaeological counterpart. No skeletal remains have been found that can be confidently assigned to this group. Their presence in the Amazon is known only through their genetic contribution to living populations, a signal that appears in the DNA of certain groups, but has no corresponding physical record. They arrived, they mixed, and they left no other trace. They were a ghost population, visible only in the genomes of their descendants, and they raise questions about the roots and timing of the deepest human migrations that the evidence may never be sufficient to answer. The implication is significant. The peopling of the Americas may not have been a simple story of Northeast Asian populations crossing a land bridge and spreading southward. It may have involved at least two distinct source populations from different parts of Asia, arriving by different routes at different times, and mixing in ways that the genetic record is only beginning to untangle. The Americas were populated by people from a world that was more connected, more mobile, and more genetically diverse than the single Bering Strait narrative ever acknowledged. The first Americans were not one people following one route on one occasion. The continent was populated through a process that was messier, longer, and more geographically varied than any single model predicted. They were many people, moving through a landscape that was simultaneously opening and closing as the ice retreated, finding paths that no longer exist, reaching places that the models said they could not have reached. The footprint at Monteverde was pressed into the clay 14,500 years ago by someone who had no idea they were doing something impossible. If you want more history that DNA is rewriting, subscribe to The Lost Blueprint. New discoveries every day.